Hey, good evening, everyone, and welcome. Chef Jason for my friends at the Colorado Beef Council. Thank you for joining us for YouTube Live. We're doing the parking lot edition tonight. That's right. We are hanging out here in the parking lot because we have fired up the grills today because we wanted to hang out with you and do a little bit of cooking. So we have a great live for you tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about beef on a budget. I think that's super important to always talk about and keep front of our mind because I know we are all on a budget and we really want to put a value to our time, right? To our dollars and to what we get at the grocery store. So what I like about beef on a budget is we have a bunch of great ideas for ways to stretch your beef dollar, but also some fun recipes that could maybe allow you to cook once, eat twice. And we'll show you some of the different cuts we have today and kind of talk through those and what we're doing. But what I love about these cuts is I can buy them in a value pack, and that value pack allows me to maybe have something tonight, but also prep something or cook a little bit extra for tomorrow. Whether I'm doing a salad or whether I'm doing entrees tonight, I'm always going to have good options. So let's start first and give you a little peek under the grill, if you will. Over here, we have got a London broil going. So we've been slow cooking this now at 300 degrees for a little bit. Now, this has been on about 40 minutes. And we're just slow roasting that at 300 degrees to keep it nice and tender, right? Nice and juicy, but also get a little caramelization. Now, the nice thing about that London broil is, let's say it's just my wife and I eating tonight, and we have a 1 pound London broil or a pound and a half. You know what? We're not going to eat it all tonight, and that's great. But what I'm doing is also setting myself up for tomorrow. So I'm going to cook what I need tonight, and then I'm also going to have a little bit extra so that tomorrow I'm ready to rock and roll, and I've got a little bit left for salads, or maybe I have some for sandwiches or tacos. So here's what we're starting off with. We're starting off with that London broil cut, and very nice, right? Big piece. This was about 1.75 pounds. What I have here is an Asian style marinade. So I like these marinades because there's a little bit of acid in here that's going to help break this down. London broil tends to be a tougher cut of meat, so we're either going to cook it hot and fast to get it charred very nicely and then get it on the grill and slice it, or we're going to put it in a marinade, which is going to help break it down, tenderize it just a little bit, and make it easier on the grill, maybe easier in the pan, but then also easier texturally when it comes time to eat. And we never say that it's tough, right? I don't ever say beef is tough. Beef has a little bit more or less chew, depending on the muscle, how active that muscle is, how much it works. And then also all the other good things. So what we want to do right here is take this London broil that we have. I didn't need to do any trimming to it, so that actually worked out really nice. It came very well trimmed, and I'm going to add it into that marinade and get that marinade to cover it. And then I'm going to let this go about 6 hours. You can let it go overnight as well. That will absolutely work if you want to let it go overnight. You can do that. Rex and Julie are signing in. They said, hi, Chef. Hello, Rex and Julie. Good to see you. Back to the marinade. When you put that London broil in that marinade, I always like about 6 hours. But if you want to do it overnight, absolutely okay to do that as well. Give it maybe maximum of 10 hours, right? And depending on when you're grilling, that overnight marinade might not work. So could be something that you want to put in maybe around 11 o'clock and give it a chance until 5 o'clock or so, or put it in at 10 and pull it at 5 so you've got an opportunity to have it ready for dinner. So a little bit of forethought, a little bit of thinking ahead of time, you'll be able to get that done and marinated really nice. So London broil is great. And let me hit preset number 3 here. We're going to move you over to the grill. We're going to give you a little shot of what we have going in here. You can see we've got that London broil over on the grill. And when you look at kind of what we're doing, we're just giving it a really nice slow roast. So we put this on at 300 degrees. We're taking it nice and slow because that is a sweeter marinade. I didn't want to char this, right? You can see on this side, it's nice. We have a little bit of char around the edge, but I'm not too worried. So I only have these 2 burners of my grill on. And I'm using that little area at a low temperature just to ensure that that London broil doesn't overcook. So cooking it nice and slow. I want to get some really good flavor in there. I want to get some good caramelization in there as well. We'll come back to the main screen here. That's super important to me on that London broil. I don't want to overcook it to the point where it's tough and chewy. I just want to get really good color, really good caramelization on there. And again, like I said, I want to slice this tonight, serve it with some rice, serve it with some vegetables, and be set. Then tomorrow, what I want to do is make sure that I have it set up for tomorrow so I can now slice the leftovers and put it on a salad or into a sandwich, making it really, really, really easy. Now, we talk about beef on a budget, and London broil delivers, because depending on how many people you're feeding, you may be able to get 1, 2, or 3 meals out of that, which is huge. I mean, when you look at your dining dollars, going out to eat, you won't get 3 meals for the price you paid for your London broil. I think we paid $17.99 for that cut. And I'm not going to feed my entire family on $17.99. So let me just double check here. And what was my price? I'm sorry, it was $22.99. So we paid $22.99 for that London broil. And if you figure 2 of us are going to easily get 2 meals, and you break that $22.99 down now into 4, and all of a sudden your protein costs you $6. If you go out to dinner, you're not going to be at $6 for 4 different meals. So that's what I love about being able to kind of stretch the beef dollars, if you will. Ground beef is great too. One of the things we talk about a lot with the Colorado Beef Council is our beef locator map. So you can go to cobeef.com. That's a Colorado Beef Council website, cobeef.com. Over there, you can find our beef locator map. And the great thing about the locator map is it will connect you with local farmers, ranchers, and producers that have some of that amazing Colorado beef to fill your fridges or your freezers, right? And the cool thing about buying beef is, yes, you get to specify some cuts. You get to pick how many steaks, roasts, those types of things. But you're also going to get maybe some kebab meat, maybe some stew meat, some Swiss steaks, and then some ground beef. And I hear it frequently. What am I going to do with all that ground beef? What am I going to do with all that ground beef? Well, I'll tell you what, think of all the things you can do. From chili to sloppy joes to taco meat to hamburgers to smash burgers to meatballs, all of those different things, soup, stews, all of that. You have probably a dozen ways to use some of that ground beef, and it's always going to be there for you to really give you a stretch. When you buy beef and you sit, let's say you buy a half a cow or a quarter or however that works, you're going to look at that price and think, wow, I paid $7 a pound for ground beef, because you paid $7 a pound for everything. But guess what? You only paid $7 a pound for your prime steaks or your choice steaks, prime rib, those types of things, ribeyes, fillets, New York strip. So ground beef is great. We got a pound of ground beef here, and when you look at how you're feeding, smash burgers are a great way to stretch your beef dollars, because I'm not putting an 8-ounce or 10-ounce burger on everybody's plate. I'm going to do one smash patty, maybe at 3 ounces, with some cheese, with some toppings, and a bun, and all of a sudden smash burgers are kind of acceptable, being easy to eat. I'm not looking for this monster 10-ounce burger. I'm looking for something fast, quick, and easy. So out of a pound, I will usually get about 6 smash burgers out of a pound. And if you're feeding your family of 3, that's 2 of you. If you're feeding 4 of you, that could easily feed 4 of you as well, if 1 or 2 people have a smash burger and somebody happens to go back for seconds, right? And that happens. So what we're going to do here real quick, we'll leave those sirloin tip steaks there for just a minute. I mean, my petite sirloin steaks, we'll leave those there for just a minute. We're going to take this ground beef and get this ready for the smashing. What I like to do when I get my ground from my local rancher or grocery store or butcher, whomever you're buying it from, I kind of like to go through here and just make a little mark on there so I can kind of see how I'm going to break that apart. And then I grab that little piece out, that little section. And what I'm going to go through now and do is I'm just going to kind of massage this. What I'm doing is warming up that beef a little bit, warming up that fat just a little bit, and getting this to really kind of come back together, if you will, right? I'm getting it to re-emulsify, just because, when they grind it, it kind of separates it into little grinds. So by just massaging that a little bit, I'm going to get it right back where I need it. All right, let's get this one here. Hey, don't forget too, if you have questions, leave them in the chat section. The great thing about us being on YouTube now is we're going to be able to come back and talk to you and engage with you and answer your questions whenever we want. So if you're watching this live today, great, ask your questions and comments and we'll answer them live. If you're coming back to watch us after the fact, don't sweat it. We'll be coming back from time to time. We also get notifications when there's comments, so we will always come back and answer your questions for you. So I like to make my little burger balls, if you will, and get these guys ready for the smashing. And we have our griddle behind us already preset and heated up, I should say. We're going to be smashing today at about 350 degrees. I'm not going to go too hot because my goal when I make smash burgers is to have a nice crust on there. I don't want to burn anything up. So go ahead and grab this guy off our board here, and we'll set that one right in the front here. Now, what we'll do is, let me take my gloves off here. We're going to move that camera over to the griddle, and we're going to show you how we get started with smash burgers. Here's something you can always do. Something that adds a lot of flavor to smash burgers is onions. So you kind of do that Oklahoma style burger where you shave off some onions and pile those onto your grill or your griddle if you're doing it on a griddle, or you can do it on a flat top on a grill as well. Hey, you can even do it in your house with a cast iron skillet. I will tell you, if you're doing it in your house in a cast iron skillet, just know that everything is going to smell like a juicy, delicious burger. So that is something to be aware of as well. I'm one of those people that I love food. I adore food. I'm around food all the time. I don't necessarily like my house, my cat, my dog, and all my clothes smelling like smash burgers. So, all right, what we're going to do is just super thin. I'm going to cut these onions down here. Yeah, so I can hear the cars driving behind me. And because we're hanging out and doing the parking lot edition, you might see some cars from time to time, but we tried our best to block them there for you, but adds to the ambiance of what we've got going on. So, all right, the griddle is preheated. I'm gonna let you in on a chef's secret I have when it comes to having a smashing good time on burgers. And I'm gonna do that here in 1 second, because the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go back to the Weber camera here on the Weber Summit, and I want to show you just where we're going to track temperature. So I'm going to move that London broil to the cooler side of the grill. I have an instant read digital thermometer. If you ever hear me talk about things, I always talk about that instant read digital thermometer because I really like to make sure that this is quick and fast and easy and accurate. So we're going to go right in the middle there and just kind of see where we're at. And we're about 160 on here, which is absolutely perfect. I like that. Yeah, we're 155. So we're good. What I'm going to do with this now is I'm going to take this off, and we're going to let this rest back on the center board here. And we'll come right back to that camera as well. So we're going to set it right on this board, and we're going to let it rest. One of the reasons we always want to let meat rest is it's kind of that redistribution of juices. We want all of those juices to redistribute themselves on throughout that piece of meat or that cut of meat. If I were to take this meat right now, fresh off the grill, and I were to slice into that, any of that moisture that's pushed its way to the center of the meat is going to let it just release and be all over your plate. So if anybody ever says, oh, look at the juices on there, right, those juices should stay in the meat. So I always like to let that rest, and we'll probably let it rest for just a couple minutes while we head over to the griddle. We're going to move over to the griddle camera now, and we're going to get something started here. I told you I was going to let you in on a chef secret. Well, check out this chef secret here. I have a little bacon fat. I think bacon fat is wonderful when it comes to using it as a fat on your griddle. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take these onions, I'm going to kind of pull them apart, and I'm going to get them in that bacon fat because I want those onions to start to saute just a little bit in there. And then here's what we're going to do. We're going to add a little bit of bacon fat. I think we'll add that bacon fat right up here. Let that kind of find its way down a little bit. Get this worked over here. We're going to saute those guys. What I'm trying to do is use that bacon fat to get as much of this griddle kind of seasoned, if you will, or oiled up so that we're ready for the smashing. Now, I'm gonna break these guys apart. I shaved them nice and thin. The great thing about that is they will, they'll work out much better that way. They'll actually kind of incorporate into the meat. And what I'm doing here now is making myself kind of 5 little piles. Get that guy over here. All right, we've got those seasoning just like that. What I'm gonna do then is I'm gonna grab these 5 burger balls. Now, I'm gonna set these guys down on there. I'm gonna set number 1 there. I'm gonna set number 2, number 3, number 4, and I'm just kind of pushing them down a little bit. I want to get some of that meat in contact with the griddle, but I'm going to let them sit for a couple minutes. We're going to leave those just like that so that those onions kind of push down, have a chance to like smoosh in there. That's right, that's a cooking term, smoosh. Let me grab a paper towel here and I'll wipe off my board. We're only gonna give those guys just maybe 30 seconds or so to do their thing because we wanna get back here and make sure we grab everything we need for the smashing part. So we're gonna need some seasoning. That's gonna be one of the things we definitely need, seasoning. Now, one of the other things I like too, chef's tip number 1 is the bacon fat. Chef's tip number 2, you want a great way to make sure that your burger smasher, your burger press, doesn't stick to the burgers, parchment paper. Absolutely the most handy thing ever. So I have 2 little sheets here. I'm gonna do those guys just like that. I'm gonna double these up here real quick. And then what we're gonna do is just a little seasoning on the top of these patties. Pick your favorite seasoning. Salt and pepper works great. If you have your favorite burger rub or barbecue rub, that works great as well. Now, I've got my smasher, right? My burger press. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that parchment on top. And then I'm gonna smash these guys down, not too thin, but not super thick. I want them to cook evenly, and I want all these burgers to be approximately the same size. So just hold it. What I like to do is smash and hold for just a second to make sure that the burger kind of has a chance to contact the surface of the grill and it holds. And if you don't have a burger press, Julie asked a great question. If I don't have a burger press, what can I do? You could use a spatula. I'll show you that here in a second. So let's say I don't have a burger press. We'll put that away because we're going to pretend I don't have one. Use your handy dandy spatula, just like this. So I'd put that parchment down as well, and then carefully with your hand and make sure that that spatula is not hot. I'll push it down like that, and again, just hold it for a second, and look at that. Those burgers are smashed. Robert says he cannot clearly hear me. Can you hear me okay, Julie? Do you have a comment on that? If you can hear all right? I may have stopped talking for a second. That could have been it. But we've got those burgers smashing right there. The next most important thing you need when it comes to smash burgers is soft squishy bun. You have to have a soft squishy bun when you're making smash burgers because, man, I want all those juices, those onions, that crispy burger to totally counteract the soft squishy bun. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna grab the buns while the burger's cooking and we're just gonna set them on here. We've got some residual bacon fat. We'll get those guys there so they can start seasoning up a little bit and toasting up a little bit. Now, ready for this? Carefully, carefully, we're gonna go under those onions. Those onions also help the burgers release from the griddle. So that's always a nice little trick too. That way, if you have a well-seasoned griddle, your burgers won't stick. But if you definitely wanna make sure they don't stick, those onions do a fantastic job of that. All right, let me get this guy on here and that one here. And hold on a second, I'm gonna bring these guys over here as well. All right, so look at that. All those burgers have been smashed to perfection. We'll go ahead now and season that top side just a little bit as well. And then here's the time where you can do anything you want. You can add cheese if you want to add some cheese. That works out perfect. Get a little bit of cheese at smash burgers. I usually pick a fast melting cheese. American always works good. Some Swiss is good. Gruyere is great as well. But I like to pick a fast melting cheese so we have a chance to get it on. Now, people always ask me, what temperature should I cook my smash burgers to? Medium, medium rare? There really is no temperature. You're just gonna smash your burgers and cook them till they're done, if that makes sense. I'm not taking their temperature. I'm not checking it with a probe. I'm basically cooking them until they are done. I'm gonna tap them a little bit. I'm gonna feel them just a little bit here to see if there's any squish. the more done your burgers are, the firmer that they will be. So if I push into there and I feel it's really soft, I know that that burger isn't fully cooked yet. So we'll just let them go. I don't want to overcook them, but I definitely don't want to have medium rare smash burgers. We are toasting the buns, so let's go ahead and lay those out on the board. You'll notice I have 5 smash burgers and 4 buns, and that is absolutely acceptable because someone is getting a double tonight. I'm not sure who. I haven't picked, but somebody is getting a double. So I like to lay those out. I have all the bottom buns. I have all the top buns right there. Good to go. Let those burgers cook for just another minute, and then we've also got that London broil sitting there. Now, petite sirloin steak. Here's a great one. This was actually $7.99 a pound. They were on sale. I've got some really nice petite sirloins. And guess what? When I bought these, they were such a good sale that I bought 2 packs. So I cooked 1 for dinner and made a great dinner. We had everything we cooked them just like that, ate them like steaks, had a little bit of barbecue sauce in there. They were good. I froze the 2nd pack. So if you're wondering like, hey, why does that look a little bit lighter in color? I froze it. I left it wrapped really nice. I actually double wrapped it in a 2nd bag, protected from freezer burn. And then I pulled these out of the freezer, put them into my refrigerator last night. So they had a full, probably about 15 hours to defrost, and here we are. Doesn't change the flavor, doesn't change anything about it. Does change the color a tiny bit, but they are still just as fantastic. We'll talk about those in a second. All right, slider time. So I'm gonna go back here. And there is slider number 1. So smash burger time. I keep calling them sliders. Smash burger time. Again, what a great way, another use to use up your ground beef that you get. And I'll tell you, ground beef, if you buy it in bulk, maybe at one of the club stores, you're at Sam's or at Costco or any of the other club stores, it's really nice when you can buy it in bulk because you'll save a good amount of money, which is always helpful, but then you'll be able to also maybe break it down into smaller portions. And by that, I mean, you could always take that 3 or 4 or 5 pound package of ground beef and break it down into 1 pound balls or patties or chunks, and then put those in a vacuum bag and seal them. That always works out really, really well. But again, if you buy it in bulk, maybe you're buying a 5 pounder, you're buying a 10 pound. 10 pounds are even easier because you can cut them into like 1 pound logs. Yep, just break them down and freeze them. That way you saved a lot of money, and eventually, yes, you're going to be able to use it for things like meatballs, burgers, all those types of things. So smash burgers are done. That is recipe number 1. I think that was worked out good. I have the griddle shut off right now. Let me turn the gas off here super quick, just so I have that done completely. I always like to shut the gas off on my grills when I'm done immediately, because if I say, oh, I'll get to that later, later doesn't happen. And then the next time you go to start your grill, you are no gas, right? So we've got those petite sirloin steaks there. Let's go ahead and take a look at this London broil. Now you'll notice we do have some juice here on the board. That's going to be normal. You're going to have a little bit of juice as you rest the meat. That is just part of the resting process. The nice part about that resting process is those juices were not let out, if you will. I always think if you slice into that right off the grill, we just let all those juices out. These just kind of happen through the resting process. We don't want to force them out. Now, let's go ahead and cut into this London broil. We have a nice London broil here. Great cook, and that's going to make a really nice dinner tonight. You could easily, that's my neighbor dog Dolly, and here comes Millie. So you could easily turn that London broil tonight, slice it, serve it on rice with vegetables, all of that. But look at this, nice and thin, so I can slice it and use it for tacos tomorrow. I can use it in a sandwich. I can put a little barbecue sauce, have a barbecue beef sandwich. And again, I was able to stretch that dining dollar quite a bit. All right, we have, oh man, tastes good too. And I love the Asian marinade just because I really like those flavors. I like a little bit of sweet, I like a little bit of soy. I definitely like the vinegar in there. That acid, breaking that down, always comes in wonderfully. Now, let me finish eating. If you notice here, I turned this side of the grill up. All 3 of these burners are now on. We're sitting at about 550 degrees. One of the things I wanted to show you about these sirloin steaks, these petite sirloins, let me clean up my spot here a little bit, is I'm going to move these guys here. These are great as is. Yes, I said it. These make fantastic steaks by themselves. These are wonderful, wonderful steaks to eat, and we eat them a lot because there's times where I want to have beef, I want to have a steak, I want that steak experience, but maybe I don't want to spend $12, $16, $19 on a single New York or a single ribeye. This is where these come into play. Beautiful, beautiful. I can get two different uses out of these. I can add a little bit of fat here to act as a binder, put a little bit of oil on there and season it, and look at that. I've got a really nice steak all by itself. But let's say you're thinking, wait a second, I don't want to make a steak. Nope, I am not in the mood to make steaks tonight. I want kebabs. Well, guess what? Here's a great way now that I can take this and cut it in half, and then I can make some really nice cubes like that. I try to keep them the same size. That's always important because then everything will cook equally and evenly. And I mean evenly as in they'll cook the same temperature, and equally they'll all cook to the same doneness. So what have I done here is my metal skewers. Love metal skewers. One of the reasons I love these so much is, reason number one, I don't have to soak them in water. Whew, thank you. That's great. I don't have to remember to do that or forget to do that. And then the next part is these are metal. So these are also going to conduct some heat. So I'm going to grill from the outside at 550 degrees. I'm also going to pick up some heat and cook them a little bit faster. So what I will do now is just go through here, and I'll start making some beef kebabs. I don't pack these on super tight. I want there to be some breathing room in the middle so that these guys have a chance to cook. And if you pack them on too tight, what happens is you really impede their cooking quite a bit, actually. They will take probably 20 to 25% longer if they're packed on there really tight. So I'm not sure if you can see in there, but I do have some gaps in here, just giving myself some breathing room on these kebabs to get them cooked evenly, all of that. All right, so there's kebab number one. And here is starting of kebab number two. Now, as we always say when we do our lives, do not forget, please, to leave your comments in the comment section so that we can come back and hang out with you and answer your questions and talk a little bit about beef or guide you to the right person if you're looking for some local beef. Always as a backup too, you can head over to cobeef.com. That's the Colorado Beef Council website. Over there, you will find our beef locator map, so you can get on there and find your local rancher producer who is ready to fill your fridges, freezers, and bellies with some of that amazing Colorado beef. So don't forget to head over there as well. Check it out. I've got 2 kebabs. That is perfect. That will feed my wife and I dinner tonight. I still have 4 steaks left. Now I can take 2 of these, vacuum seal them, put them in my food saver, freeze them, all of that. I'm not going to refreeze them. When I buy them initially, then I'll break them down and freeze them. I normally cook for a larger crowd. That's why I left it as a 6-pack. But a great way to do that is make what you need tonight. If you're not going to use it, portion them out for your next meal. Save them. Don't forget to do that. Don't say, I'll do that tomorrow, I'll do that tomorrow. I always like to, when it comes to my proteins, get it done immediately, because the times that I say, oh, I'll get to it, I'll get to it, I get to it, I don't. And then what happens is, unfortunately, we have food waste, and that's not something that I want. So I'm really trying hard to always make sure that I get things done right away. Okay, so one of the things you can do on these guys is you can add a little bit of fat as a binder. It's going to bind the rub to the meat, but it's also going to act as a release agent on the grill. So I will add a little bacon up, or bacon grease if you will. And let's do it this way here. Let me just take that. And this guy's almost out, so I know that I'm dipping back in there, but I won't be using any more of this, so. All right, and I don't want so much that I have a flare-up. Definitely not trying to have a flare-up. I just want to make sure that I get enough on there to help some of that rub stick. And then, speaking of rub, pick your favorite rub again. Barbecue rub works great, but if you want to use salt and pepper, that's always an option as well. And then just be careful if you do a sweet rub, because these are going to be grilled, so we don't want to have that sweet rub burn on a higher temperature on the grill. So I'm just kind of lightly seasoning those. We'll let that soak in for just a minute. And that grill is sitting perfectly. Those 3 burners have this sitting right at 550 degrees. So we'll go ahead now and put those guys right like that. Remember, those are hot, so you definitely want to start turning them with tongs, because if you do not, you will quickly be reminded just how hot those get. And I'm going to tell you, they get really, really hot. So, all right, let's go ahead and put this board back up here super quick. Just like that. We'll do a little wipe down here. Now, I do have a sauce. I have a barbecue sauce. I have my basting brush ready, so I am ready to baste those guys as we need it. But I'm literally going to start the cooking process and just let them go. I'm going to leave them alone. I'm not going to do anything to them, because I want that first sear to occur while it is in its resting spot, if you will. It's sitting there. We're leaving it alone. We're not going to go in there with tongs. We're not going to grab them, flip them, twist them, pull them, all of that. We're just going to leave them alone. So I want that initial hard sear to happen, and we'll just kind of let it do its thing. Anybody have any questions on anything? Did you see these ultimate smash burgers right there? The person that's getting the double smash burger, right here. I'm just saying, I've been looking forward to that double smash burger all day long. So that griddle is cooled down. We'll go ahead and shut that. Our gas is off. Life is good. All right, give these guys just a couple minutes here. Now, coming up in August, we are going to do our next YouTube Live, and we're going to talk more about some fun and exciting grilling things. We know that everybody's out doing a lot of grilling, so we want to make sure we can give you some great recipes and advice for grilling success in your backyard. And the cool part about it, too, is you could always head over to National Cattlemen's Beef Association. You know them better as beefitswhatsfordinner.com. You can head over to beefitswhatsfordinner.com, and they have a ton of recipes. You could type in sirloin tip steak, and it's going to tell you exactly what to do with it. You could type in tri-tip. It'll give you ideas. Ground beef. It'll pull up all the recipes. It'll give you information on the cut, all of that. Petite sirloin, London broil, everything. London broil, I wanted to mention, if you're going to marinate a London broil, make sure that your marinade is dark in color. If your marinade or a brine, quote unquote brine, is light in color, will actually strip the color out of your beef, leaving you with kind of a weird colored beef. So always make sure it's a little bit dark in color. All right, let's go over to camera 3. There we go. There we are, sitting right at that summit, and I'm going to go ahead carefully and just lift these guys up. Got a nice sear on that first side, and I'm going to rotate them about halfway. We'll do the same thing there, like that, and we'll get those guys going that way. So we just rotate them kind of third, maybe, I guess quarter. Nah, we're probably going to do third. And I say third because I can see kind of how the beef is rotating on there. So we'll probably just rotate it 3 times and get a really nice sear onto those so that we get a good cook. And kebabs are great. Cook them to whatever you want. I usually like to cook my kebabs to about a medium doneness. I feel like that eats really, really nicely. And then if you're going to sauce them, I always sauce at the very end, usually about the last maybe 2, because these are so small, about the last 2 minutes of cooking. And all I'm trying to do is allow that sauce to get tacky, or what we call tack up. I want the moisture in the sauce to kind of dissipate, the water, right, if you will. When you heat sauce up, it gets thin. I want that water to evaporate, and then I want that sauce to thicken up just a little bit. So I'm going to baste these right towards the end of the cooking process, because also, not only do I want them to tack up, but because there's a lot of sugar in barbecue sauces, I don't want that to burn. So I want to get a nice, good, delicious coating of barbecue sauce on there. All right, easy breezy, don't you think? So again, if you're looking for today's recipes, downloadables, and all of that good stuff, we have that available for you in the description of tonight's live. So you can head in there, copy those links, head over to beefitswhatsfordinner.com. We've got all of those sheets for you. Then we've got a great downloadable resource on beef on a budget. Again, it's going to give you a lot of tips and advice on ways to do it different, ways to cook once, eat twice, ways to buy in bulk and portion and freeze. So a lot of good tips in there to help stretch your dining dollars. I'm telling you, I love to eat beef. I'm a meat eater, but I am not always a New York strip steak and ribeye or filet mignon budget. So it's great to have a lot of different options. That petite sirloin steak for us at my house always delivers really, really nicely. So, all right, we'll take one more look at these before we cut you loose for the night. But that right there, I'm not really sure. I think I want the smash burgers, but I also think I want that as well. I mean, that's not a bad dinner, right? So we'll let these guys finish up here, and like I said, we're gonna cook them to about medium doneness, which if I'm using my instant read digital thermometer, I'll pull those at about 140 degrees and let them go over and carry over to that finish doneness. So without further ado, thank you very much for hanging out with us tonight on our first YouTube Live. We're excited to be here. The best part about this YouTube Live is we'll have a chance to come back and answer all your questions. So again, if you have any more questions, leave them in the comment section. We'll come back and get those answered. And then if you're looking for local beef, Colorado beef, please head over to cobeef.com. Under the cooking tab, you will find our beef locator map, and that will guide you towards a rancher producer who's ready to fill your fridge, freezers, and bellies with some of that amazing Colorado beef. I'm Chef Jason Morse for my friends at the Colorado Beef Council. Thanks so much. Hey, stay tuned, because coming up in August, I promise more delicious things. Maybe from the parking lot. I'm not really sure, but we're going to have a lot of fun. So we'll see you soon.